my eardrums were vibrating. I mean, this was ridiculously loud music.
Did you ever hear Jordan Davis threaten the defendant in any way?
No, sir.
Did you ever see Jordan Davis threaten the defendant in any way?
No, sir.
Did the defendant ever tell you he saw a gun in that red SUV?
No.
Did the defendant ever tell you that he saw a weapon of any kind in that SUV?
No.
We know that Jordan has received his justice. We know that Jordan's life and legacy will live on for others.
I want to go back to that day. Where were you when you heard the news that Jordan had been shot, and what were your initial thoughts?
Well, I was in Chicago. I'm from Chicago, and I was back home with my family. And I just happened to come upstairs in the bedroom. I don't know what I was coming up for, and I saw on my phone, I saw Jordan's father's face pop up on the phone. And I picked up the phone and said, "Hey, Ron, how are you doing? Happy Thanksgiving. You know, what's going on? What are you doing?" He's like, "Well, where are you?" And I said, I'm here in Chicago. I'm here at Terry and Earl's house." And he said, "Well, where are you?" And I said, "I'm here in the bedroom. Why?" And he said, "Where's Earl?" And Earl is my male cousin. And I said, "Well, he's downstairs with Terry. Why?" He said, "Go get Earl." And I said, "Why do I need to go get Earl?" He said, "I need you to go get Earl." And I said, "Why do I need to get Earl? Where's Jordan?" And he says to this day that he told me, you know, that Jordan was dead. I still didn't hear that.
Register, yeah.
We just discussed this yesterday. I didn't hear that. All I knew is that Jordan had been shot and Jordan was in the hospital. But I think in my subconscious mind, I think I knew my child was dead, but I didn't want to hear that.
Yeah. We all go through situations where we feel like we're just in a bad dream. And when you wake up and you have to deal with the fact that this was a reality, what was that moment when it hit you that you wouldn't be able to see or talk to your son again?
I think once I finally got back to Atlanta, about a week later, it was just such a tremendous crushing feeling on my whole spirit. I couldn't breathe, I couldn't think, and I remember sitting in the bed, in Jordan's bed, in his room, and I was just sobbing, and I was asking, "God, why? You know, why, Lord? I've done everything you've asked me to do to raise your child. He has faith in you. He knows who you are. I've educated him. I've kept him out of the dangerous places. You know, I've tried to instill the values in him that you wanted me to." And I remember just sitting there in his bed, just sobbing, sobbing, and sobbing, and realizing this had really happened. And that he wasn't going to come back to Atlanta anymore. And that he wasn't going to sleep in his bed anymore. And recognizing that that was never going to happen again. All the discussions we used to have at the kitchen table, deep discussions about God and about life and about humanity, we weren't going to have those anymore. I wasn't going to hear him stumbling through the house anymore with all of his pockets of friends and throwing their bags and their shoes at the front door. That was never going to happen again, and that I was never going to have grandchildren. And I was never going to see him get married. And I was never going to see him go off to the military.
Can we stop there? As a mother, you did everything in your power to protect Jordan, you know, from the environment that you raised him in, you know, all the good people that he grew up around. So what is a mother to do when that's not enough? This could have happened to anyone, anywhere at any time. What is a mother to do when she's already done all that she could do to protect her son?
I remember specifically one day we were in my bedroom, And Jordan was saying, Mom, you know, how can this happen in the country? I remember specifically, we talked about the fact, I said to him, I said, Jordan, I said, because of who you are as a young black male, there are people in this country that will not value you, will not value your life, simply because you are young, black, and male.
Yeah.
So I will tell you, you have to be very, very careful. If you ever get into an altercation with anyone, you know, you've got to be so careful nowadays, baby, because some people will shoot you down. There will be no reasonable conflict resolution. They will gun you down. And Jordan said to me, that's not going to happen to me, Mom. That's not going to happen to me. I can take care of myself. And there's not a day that goes by that I don't think about that conversation. Because as much as I did, as much as his father did, to protect him and to shelter him, it doesn't matter. There are no safe spaces. There are no safe spaces for anyone in this country at any point in time.
So being in a room by myself kind of sucks, but I guess it'd be better than being in a room with them animals.
When you eventually found out what actually happened, what went through your mind just to know that somebody would have so much animosity in their heart to shoot another human being for something as simple as playing their music too loud?
It was not about the music. It was really about the inability of Michael Dunn to see those boys as human beings, to see them as somebody worthy of existing. And because of the fact that they didn't do what he wanted them to do, because he was of authority and power, and the gun gave him even more authority and power, that power and that authority is what he deemed the boys should adhere to.
Yeah.
And that they didn't have enough value to even exist because they didn't do what he wanted them to do. So it was never really about the music.
Yeah.
The music was very superficial to the underlying biases and racist feelings and attitudes that he had about young black males.
Yeah. Now going through that whole trial, was there ever a time where you felt as if Michael Dunn had any regrets of what he did?
Michael Dunn, he really believes that he was justified in doing what he did. He really, really believes that. And he believes that simply because that's the way he was raised. That's what he was taught. So for Michael Dunn, you know, he'd never really been exposed to minorities other than what he says he saw on television or what he heard about us on the radio.
Yeah.
And so that was all a part of the dynamic for him, not understanding who those boys were.
Yeah.
You know, not understanding what families they came from, and that they were educated and they were well loved and supported, and yes, their fathers were a part of their lives.
I remember seeing a clip, and it was a very emotional clip, and you said that you forgave Michael Dunn. What did it take for you to come to that point?
That was probably one of the most difficult tests of my faith ever. And you know, the Holy Spirit was saying, you're going to have to forgive him. And I was there arguing with God. Don't make me forgive him.
Yeah.
I can't do this. Yes, I want to be obedient. And I love you with all my heart and soul, but please don't make me forgive this man. I can't do this. And God and I wrestled. And by the time I walked out of the church, I was completely at peace.
Wow.
Because I understood that, you know, he said, yes, you can. And when I walked out of the church, I understood that there was something more that I was to do. There was something more than Jordan's death that was going to be extremely important And God was just speaking into me and speaking into me and speaking. He's showing me stories in the Bible I hadn't even read. How he was using different people in the Bible for his purpose. And he said to me, he said, my people must see my face. They must turn their faces back to me. You must show them who I am. And I recognized that if I didn't forgive Michael Dunn, then I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
If I didn't forgive Michael Dunn, I couldn't carry the mantle that I now carry.
After a string of stand your ground related incidents, Jordan Davis's parents are speaking out with 3.5 minutes, 10 bullets, an HBO documentary about coping with their son's loss and the increased amount of deaths of Black men in America.
To change a problem, you've got to be part of the solution. And so encouraging, the film is to encourage you, to motivate you to be part of the solution. Not just to rally in the streets or to have the prayer vigils. Those are all important. We have to do it, but we have to move beyond that.
Yeah.
And we have to challenge the systems that are in place that allow these things to happen. We have to challenge those systems. We have to break down those walls and those boundaries. And so encouraging people to have these discussions in all the hard places, in all the places where people don't want to talk about it,
Yeah.
where people don't want to deal with what's going on. What I say specifically to our communities is that if we do not get involved in changing the tide of what we see happening in our communities, we're part of the problem.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We are part of the problem. So this is a means to encourage you to step beyond your hopelessness and be empowered, be educated about what's going on in your respective states with the gun laws, implicit bias and racism, and challenge the systems in your state to be beholden to you as a human being.